record button. And alright, so meeting has started. Today we are going to talk about a lot of subjects, try to crunch them through, and if we have time, I'm going to do a little workshop, but I don't know. We'll see how long each thing's going to take. We're going to go through the game update of the last game we made. We're going to go through our next game, talk about each of the possible games that has been suggested and what goes into them, so everyone has a better idea of what they're asking for. We're going to go with what next, such as uh, what we do after this meeting. Then, if we have time, we're going to do a workshop about difficulty in games. So, now that we got that all situated. So, for the game update, I didn't bring the cord to show it on the screen, but I've been having a lot more trouble transferring everything from one thing to the other. We got everything done. Everyone got all their things done, the music, the art, the programming, which is fantastic. We just need to compile it together, so I'm doing that, and apologies for taking long. I will have it done by the time the fair comes up, which should have been one of the topics. I'll talk about it next, actually. So the fair is coming up on the 11th and 12th, which is Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll have no meeting, no in-person meeting on Tuesday for the fair. And for those who want to join, you can come along. I'm going to be there. They're determining what time exactly we are going to be there, because I don't know if it's strictly determined by time slot or by how long you can actually be there. So if I could be there all the time, I will. If it's only for like 30 minutes, then I'll be there for 30 minutes and I'll tell everyone what time it is so everyone who wants to join can join. So, with that, now we're going to talk about the different kind of games that were put into it, that were put for the next game. So, first one is Walking Simulator. So Walking Sim is pretty straightforward. You're just going through a world. You have this complete world set up like a trail, and it's all designed to where you get to this point, a story thing happens, or you search for a story thing to happen. Just like you pick an item, and then a dialogue goes off, or an event happens, such as an idea would pop out with a horror theme to where you go from one place to another, maybe like this whole thing is like a big old facility where it's like a lab of some kind, and each place you go to gets you to another thing that can explore, can be can piece together the story. It doesn't necessarily have to be straightforward. It could be more open-ended, such as you're in same setting, like a mansion or a laboratory, and you just have these rooms you can go to, and they'll give you like a key to the door to go to the next one, and it's more open-ended. Yep.
Is it kind of like an escape room?
It can be. We can definitely set up something like that. Walking simulators are the, for the most part, they are the barest introduction to people to a gaming experience. Like, it's barely considered a game. I mean, I like to try my best to consider everything that can be played on a computer a game. Even the visual novels are considered games. So these are more uh, super straightforward, to where all you have to do is go from one place to another and know how to press a button. And that's as complicated as it usually gets. Uh, if we want to add puzzles, it starts not becoming a walking sim and becomes a puzzle game. And so it has to be very careful if we want to still keep in that realm. When it comes to how complicated it gets, this will definitely be the least complicated in some aspects. So we got programming, So programming is like a 1 to 5 like a scale. Programming is like freaking nothing. It's just making stuff happen one thing or another, and it's it's not much. It's definitely the basic of the basic. This, unfortunately, is one of the bigger ones. It's there's a lot of visual representation in a walking simulator that is going to be asked for since the world is explaining the story. The world, same thing with writing, it basically goes hand in hand. Where if there is writing, it needs to tell, you need to, that's the experience. It's it needs to be the thing that grips the players the most. So it's that's why it's important. Sound is almost as important. Now, because we're going into the horror aspect, sound will be, if we are doing horror, sound is very important. It's more important in my experience uh, than the actual art because a lot of horror games develop. Oh, there was a, sorry about that. But a lot of horror games deal with tension, deal with the buildup of tension, and sound doesn't only include music. And horror games don't ever just add the music trope of like then stop and then boom, like everyone sees that coming, everybody. So no, a lot of it does add the sound cues of just like you hear a clatter in the distance, or you hear like somebody thumping, or something like that really builds tension. Art doesn't necessarily do it as well because a lot of horror is better for the unknown. Like you don't know what's there. You don't know what you're seeing. So with art, we can have like a dark figure, but if you show like the monster immediately, then it won't build that tension as much. I mean, it could if it's like creeping around you the entire time. So it could, but it does diminish the tension a whole lot. But that's just horror. Um, Design, it kind of goes into a little more than programming necessarily because of the idea of you're still building the world of level design and you are setting it up in a way to guide the players to the specific location. But because it's so streamlined, it's a lot easier than the more open end kind of design. And even though in the block simulator it can be open end, it still has each block is still very structured, so it's not like it's going to be too effective, too broadened with what you need to do. Uh, and it's only level design. There's nothing much else with designing for this. It's only battle design. There's no like there's not even there's barely even technical design with it. So it's very if we want to do more just focus more on the art and sound, this is what we do. We will do art together. Um, Now we go with the next idea. We got point and click. These are more games such as the old puzzle games that you see, the old adventure games where you basically have an environment and you just click it to have things to like a that's your action. You either move a character by clicking them or you touch an object and that's your click the characters like that's your main interaction. There's several types of point and clicks that you can think of. The it's there's the idea of a find object kind of point and click to where you you have this clutter of things and right here it says find these things and then you gotta look into that clutter and find those things. And if we're still doing like a mystery or horror, it could have a uh, like it's just ideas I'm throwing out, but it could have like a tension meter right here where it's just like you have like a rise of like something coming, you can hear the sound of something, and you have to quickly find the things, and maybe maybe like if you need to leave and you come back, all the things are cluttered again, and so you're even more tense. So uh, that's that's an idea of a point and click adventure. Another idea of a point and click kind of game. Another idea is the point and click adventure style, to where if we're doing top down like it's suggested, then it can be just like how you have a character, you have the environment, and all it is the mouse click. You click the mouse here and they go over here, and it's fine. Uh, and then if you could be like basically like right here, then they go into a different screen. But you're only using the click to guide them rather than just pressing buttons and whatnot. And that is more is it's a little bit different than when you're actually using button controls, because what if the character is right here and you want to interact with the thing right here? You can just click it and they just immediately go to it, and it's always determined that you're going to make that action right there. The downside obviously is that what if you click right here and the character's over here and the monster starts coming this way? It's a lot harder a lot harder the reaction for players to like, oh, click over here, get away, and they're already like halfway through it. So this is not. It's a little harder for people that want to have a reaction experiences where like they get to react more rather than a point and click. And this one is more of a story centric, environmental centric kind of thing. But it can work. Definitely can work. Oh, and again, wrong part, right, this, one, two, five. So programming a point and click eventually to be a little more difficult. Actually, it's more like, and I'm not giving this scale on the basis of this is the expert of all time, like they've been programmed for 10,000 years. No, no, this is scale of like little beginners. So this one would definitely be a lot more difficult because you're not only using the idea of you click a place and the character is moving towards it. That can get pretty complicated when it comes to programming because there's this thing called pathfinding that is that I am not even 100% experienced in, because pathfinding, I'll have to explain how it works. So everyone's taken maps to where you have two locations, and the best way to get it through, you find a slope and then go through it. What if in a game there's an object in the way? Obviously, you don't want them trying to go through there, or else it's just going to bump it entirely. And so there's methods to do so, and the a cheap method is to just be like, if something's in the way, move up, something's in the way, move up, something's in the way, move up, something's in the way, move up. If nothing's in the way, then it goes right there. That's one way to do it, and that is a long form of doing it. And then there's something called, if you want to look it up for future references, the A star logarithm. I don't know if I spelled that right. I haven't tried logarithm much, which is really long. So nobody sees my spelling. So that is a calculated logarithm that you basically have an array that stores anything that's like an object, like a tree, like in the box. You kind of feed it into this logarithm, and then as the character right here, you want to get right here, and then there's a tree, and then like a box, and then a tree, and a rock, and they want to get through here. The logarithm will basically try to find the best and quickest path to locations based upon what it thinks the different ones are. And I have always been scared to try this, to be honest. I have always been avoiding a star logarithm. However, if anything I know about programming, it's not as complicated as I make it out to be. I think it's complicated. I think it's this like massive, huge problem. And then you look at the right form and like, oh no, yeah, but you just like write these lines of code. That's pretty much it. It's like it always goes that way. But I'm so focused on trying to get the thing done that I just avoid this kind of thing altogether to know I can get things done right away rather than try a new thing and then realize I have a new tool I can use. But so I suggest that if we do happen to do this, that um, you at least like to try to look it up. We are not going to make you do it. I'm not going to make you try to do it because it is a find out on your own time kind of thing because it's just so new and I wouldn't be able to help you. Uh, and it would probably take just as long just for you to do it. Just the whole quarter just to even find out how to do it. So we'll design it in a way to where we'll do it probably this way. We'll have the hallway set up like this, and then if you click right here, the character immediately goes into the middle, and it'll be very straightforward. They just go in these directions, and then they go here. So that's how we'll do it at the start. So, well, there probably won't be obstacles in the way of the like of the center point. If there are going, like let's just say we have a room like this, and then there's like items right here that you can click, like all these are somehow items. And so every room will probably be set up something like this. Doesn't have to have the path, but there will be like a center that the character will be able to guide themselves to. And their pathways will most likely be a int kind of thing. It will always be int and then int instead of like directly to it, so they don't have to interact with objects that could possibly be in the way, and it will be easier to set it up. Mm-hmm. So you're not bogged down by how the hell do I do all this? So now, art. Same thing. Art is kind of important with portraying like the environment. Um, uh, it tells the story, it tells what's going on, not too much different. It's kind of funny. Most games are gonna fall probably in this same world we're making, unless it's like literally a text adventure because it's art. It's the visualization of what you're doing. So that will probably be a similar thing to a lot of games we're making. Um, Writing. This will probably be a little more important because in a point and click adventure, unless we're having absolutely no um, talking with it, if there's no talking, this art jumps way more because you have to guide them in some way. But writing um, will be more the medium to guide the player in this um, than the art will. But that's more if we're doing the point and click adventure style. But if we're doing the finder, maybe I'll take two bars. Like because we could do it in two separate ways. Like for instance, we have the find the right items kind of point and click. That's where we just find the right items. That's the location bar. Like I said, find these items. And then the different one, the point and click adventure, to where you're clicking different items, the character is going to. We can blend them together to where if you click here, it goes into this thing. We could do that if we have like a time to where we're starting to like this becomes super easy because like it's not complicated at all, and we have a lot more time. We can start blending it together to where these will instance to these kind of things. But we'll see what everyone thinks. Um, So I will try to do this. So adventure. This is the point and click adventure kind of difficulties, but with programming the point and click of just finding items, it's not that complicated. You just click, look for the switch to see if it's on or not. If it's not, then check to see if it's the right item. If it is, then boom, something happens. Very easy, or a lot easier. So like fine. However, when it comes to art, to find one, actually no, this one was for that. But with the finding one, it's actually a lot more complicated because when you're finding items, the art is very important to blend things together. Because if you ever played a find the item kind of game on a screen, they do very well to arrange everything together where everything starts looking the same, blended together, and it's really hard to find. Like we all know how hard it is find Waldo, and so that's because the way they set it up made it so. And so in these art games, you have to be very detailed with certain things. Wow, this thing could like in retrospect, it's standing out like a sore thumb, but you don't know based on the clutter of everything else. That's why the art will be pretty important if we do that. For adventure, yes, for the writing is very important in the French part. But when it comes to the finding, not so much because it's already like determined what to do in the finding thing. If obviously if you set it up right, you have like these are the things you're looking for. These are the things here. Like what more do you need? You don't really need more, and so writing would just be fluff, and so it's not that important. Not that important. If we want to make a story centric, cool, we can, but that's kind of up to. In general, that's just what it is. Sound design, probably in the in the middle, a little like we'll just do little wiggle room for possible for it depends what we're focusing on. Again, I am kind of basing this on the general theme of horror, which it seems like we're going towards, or mystery. Um, when it comes to horror, it's a lot more important because horror resides with sounds and whatnot that makes it much more builds up tension more. When it comes to mystery, not so much. It it just becomes general uh, uh, make the right sounds to make the stuff happen. That's pretty much it. But when it comes to finding, again, we're gonna do a little bit because horror again pushes it up a little more. But when it comes to finding, the most important things is ding, you got it right, and you got it wrong, or just one ding, just like that kind of sound design. It's important, but it's not like drastic. This is the highest focus of the land. And um, designing for adventure heavily important because just like how the writing in the adventure will guide you, the level has to guide you as well. You have to, the level has to tell you where you can go, what you can click, what seems important. And a level layout is very important for that. Let's just say for the adventure, you have the same room, just picking up a same room, and you want to, like this setup in itself shows the F4 directions you can go. Great, level design is great for that. In this setup, what items do you think is important to click? Think of all the possible items. This one, this one. This one, not so much because it's way in the corner and not like way out of the view. You could try to make that an important thing, is like to trick people, but you have to make sure that's in every kind, any as a possibility because game designers try to do this like a fun little trick to where here's an example has like a there's a game Donkey Kong Country 2, which was on the Super Nintendo, really old game, and they had these bonus coins that you can get that were hidden throughout each level, and they hidden them perfectly in most levels to where you use your abilities to just like think a little bit outside of the box of where they could be. They could be in enemies you killed. They could be in boxes that you did. They could be like in a lower part of the level that you could see before in other parts of the level. So you can piece it together of where they could possibly be. However, there's rules that they break to hide them, and it's horrible. Like for instance, in most platforming games, you go in this direction, and that's pretty much it. You only go backwards if you went forward. You start going forward. One level had an extra bounce out of nowhere, just like one level to hide the bonus coin, and that's stupid. Like that, I think that's atrocious because they never let you do that ever in any of the other levels, and that's betrayal of the rules of the game of what they set up for you. Sure, it's a good hiding spot, but man, is it annoying because they never did. They never explained that that could be a thing. Same thing with another time they hide it, to where there's these different parts you can go into called bonus levels to find a different kind of currency. And it's like its own little pocket world to play a minigame. They hid a coin in that as well. And that is atrocious because they could because actually I'm gonna take that back. I'm gonna take that back. Because I was going to say they would have given you different items in there that you can find, but they did. They give you different items. So you know what? I'm gonna erase that. That one example is enough to give you. Anyways, so that's why in the event descent, designing is pretty important. However, when we get to point and click, it's a little more like wavy. Honestly, because it depends who's in charge of what. Like, if you have who is going to be in charge of the items, like what the item placement is. Well, is it the artist or is it the designer? We don't know. It all depends on who wants to do what. Um, who's going to be in charge of what items to find? Uh, so that it becomes loose of like who, because the artist is going to have to draw it anyway. So the is going to have a lot of work to do, and the designer could do the layout, but it could screw the art a bit. So if the designer takes less work, the artist might have to take a little more work, and so this becomes very art heavy. And so whoever's doing the art for this has to be pretty careful of how much they want to take on. Uh, so, but with the designer, if we can add elements that can make this better, like for the horror idea that I talked about, to where you can have like a horror level and that can be techno design as well on top of that. And other parts is like, what if you want to do like a hiding mechanic to where he's coming in, and then like the monster's coming in and you like hide in it, and you can mess around with how long that takes and whatnot. Uh, so I hope everyone had a good idea to their what the what these look like before we come up with a more specific idea of what kind of game. So what next? And I want to explain this so that while we're deciding, we can have stuff to do still, so it's not wasted. Alright, we'll go with programming. Programmer can find just learn how clicking works, just like mouse clicks. Just like click a thing and then have like a block right here. Click a thing, have a block go up to that thing. Or just like first learn how to click it and then like do the debug stuff where it says like click and like stuff like that. Like that, you can at least get the basic idea because in the point and click adventure, it'll still be able to be utilized of just like clicking it. Um, we'll also have to decide what platform we want this to be on. Do we want this to be a computer game or a phone game? We need to be very flexible with that. And we can definitely make it a phone game. However, I am not too privy on how Apple to make it Apple verified because Apple's very picky when it comes to what it allows people to download. And you can test it on an Apple product, excuse me, on your Mac, and you can connect your iPhone into it to test it on your iPhone. But it doesn't have a way to, as far as I understand, it doesn't have a way to uh, up down for people to download it from the other iPhone products. You have to put it through the store, and it sucks because it costs money. It's verified. It's a lot of verification, and we might I might be able to maybe persuade the student life people to give us a little funding to make it go through because it would suck if we can't get half of the people who have iPhone can't play it, and we would definitely like that. Like we don't want to make everyone go through. All right, just plug it into your computer. Just like you have to come here in order to get the game, and everyone with an Android gets just download it. So we'll have to experiment with that. We can kind of do both. Like for instance, in coding, um, a mouse click is just the same as a touch for in programming sense. So let's just say we make a point and click adventure and it's all just mouse clicks. We can definitely just import it into the phone as well. Uh, so we can plan for both, just to get experience on that. We'll see. We'll think about that when deciding what platform to put on. But okay. For anyone doing art, I'd say uh, work because I don't think anybody's going to have. Uh, I haven't heard any of the ideas, and we want to make sure that everyone wants to put in their 2 cents before we get to this. But I'd say a good start would be practicing practicing uh it's actually pretty tough because I do want to say practicing like object blending in and whatnot in your art, but I don't want this being wasted because what if we don't do a point and click adventure? Um, I'd say we are probably going into the unless anybody has any objection, horror or mystery with it. So work on I say work on I'll come back to that. I apologize for that. Alright. I'll get my mic up. Woo. Oh, no, I got an idea. We could do that. What in with anybody doing art, just do rough drafts because it seems like we're doing these two possible things. Rough drafts of possible of that idea of like blending in two things. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Don't work too much on the high detail, but work just how to blend two objects together if we are doing that type of thing, and how to make like in a level design, how to make this object look important while this object doesn't look important. Um, a good reference is you know how on cartoons they have the object that's going to animate. You can obviously tell it's based on its color. It's super obvious then. So you can try exploring that if you don't have much of an idea of what to do. You can try exploring different kinds of color saturate. Maybe instead just like do a highlight because some games do that to where a item that's interactable it has like a certain glow around it, or when you hover over it, it has a glow that can activate it. Try to do things like that. Same, like writing, just whoever's doing the writing, just have fun with like a simple type of like a script for each type of game. Again, we're probably going to be able to decide this by Friday. So if you have no time to do any of this, whoever uses time, completely fine. Um, these are just ideas if you want something to do. Writing, like I said, just do a script of possible like stories, like basic ideas of what stories you could do for each type of game. Oh, that's a walking sim, right? So, for the walking sim, it would probably be just it's top, we're doing the top down actually. So, probably like a scene setup where in a lot of walking sims you have like a scene that goes on. Just a trying to draw a little bit of what a possible scene could look like. Cause most of the time there's just like down here and scenes going on, stories being told, or possible room layouts to where what the scene could go about and like this when you go up to this thing. So writing, yeah, just like possible script, each one of these, like not script, I'm sorry, basic story of what could be going on and this kind of thing. Whether it's mystery or horror or, yeah. So, sound, if whoever's doing sound, try to look for, um, the, good, like, most likely with point and click and with walking sim, you'll have like a, possible affirmative or negative sounds. Like ding, you got that right, you got that wrong. Like, look for good sounds like that. In a walking sim, they'll have like good, uh, um, the atmospheric sound. Like for instance, if you ever played a walking sim, you have someone walking. The walking is very, very like amplified to show to keep the player invested. Because in a walking sim, all you got is the stuff happening on the screen. And of course, games are always stuff that happening on the screen. But usually in more modern in other kinds of games, you're doing a lot of action. You're not doing a lot of action with this, so the sound is very important with this. I hope I put that in something last time. But nonetheless, you want to work on you want to be able to find like good walking sound and whoever's doing the sound or whoever wants to dabble in sound, there's a good program called Audacity. It's a sound manipulating program, free, and I use it all the time to grab music, cut them up, and distort them and whatnot. And so find sound effects. A lot of them are free online, and download this for free, and just have fun with it. Designing, same thing as kind of like art, but have it as if how you would like a if you were the designer. What would a room like this look like? Where things would be important, and why in a layout like such as this, or any other layout like what look like this instead. Change it systematically for where it's important, why. And of course, with the walking sim, you can do a quick layout of like a level, just like the like where to go, what's important, like what you can see and whatnot. Uh, back out there. All right. So hope this was enlightening, and we got done with that. Ooh, I should have taken a picture of what. Okay, no, we got done with that. We got done with that. We got done with that. What is the other thing? Crap! I completely forgot what the other thing was. Like, I know there was a workshop after all this, but there was something, maybe there was
Oh,
something.
the fair? Okay.
We already talked about that. So if I did put that on there and I talked about it beforehand, then that's good. How much? Okay, we got some time. All right. So we're going to start the workshop of difficulty, and this is we'll get more. I'm a writer, I swear. But this is more of a philosophical kind of topic, but it's very important in gaming, and it's a much debated kind of topic. Like, difficulty is the only thing, like, is the biggest thing when it comes to this medium. You don't have a difficulty setting much with reading books, with watching movies, with reading manga. I mean, the only difficulty they have with it is based upon your with reading. You need vocabulary a bit to read it, but that's not exactly like the difficulty of the art itself. Like you can still read it. You just need the words, and the story itself is not exact. The main crux of the story is not the difficult. It's not like a difficult to get through. Maybe the underlying stuff is difficult, such as the meaning, the themes, the uh, the background importance of things. Same thing with movies. You can watch any movie you want. You're able to watch it as long as you have eyes, and so there's no difficulty with it, and you can still get through the entire experience that way. Same thing with music. You can listen to the whole thing. Same thing with comic books. You can read the whole thing. Uh, but games are the only genre, or only art medium, to where you have to have some kind of like underlying skill to get through each possible game. And it's very difficult to, it's difficult. It's very difficult to find the line of where you draw for each game. I have this method in my head where there's this bar, and there's a certain threshold where players say, fuck this game, where they just stop. And it could go in both directions. Too easy? Fuck this game. Too hard? Fuck this game. Can anybody think of games that are way too hard that they just don't want to even try? Shadow Colossus, that's Shadow of Colossus. Like, very difficult games for some people. I could think, and I got an obvious game, Dark Souls.
Oh, yeah.
And it's considered one of the hardest games. Uh, and there's people that love it just for that. It's so incredibly hard. Um, Other games. I was gonna put Bloodborne, but that's obviously that's the same realm with Dark Souls. Got another game. Hollow Knight. Consider that incredibly difficult. Um, I can put. Do you have any other one? Okay. I'm gonna put Hades. This more recent game. Um, if anybody wants to go into really, really old games, oh, those are incredibly difficult. Like the NES games, my God. Uh, they are just like, I got one, Punch Out. That took me like 7 years to beat. Because the last boss was so hard. It was Mike Tyson. It was just so incredibly hard. So incredibly hard. Because back then they didn't have firm grasp of what is difficult, what is not. So these are all considered hard games to some people. How about easy? Has anyone played a game that's so incredibly easy they're just like, I don't want to freaking play this. Like I'm bored. Um, how about any learning game like Math Blaster? or freaking made a freaking typing. It's like these are games where you only play it if you have nothing better to do at school. Like these are obvious to a lot of people. It's just, I'm bored. Can I play Mario, please? I just want to play Mario. Some people consider Mario games. Some Mario games are very easy comparatively. Uh, I got another one. Specific game, Kirby's Epic Yarn. It came out on the Wii, and my God, you can't lose. You absolutely just can't. Like you can. It's really hard not to win, and the only metric of difficulty is how many of these crystals you collected. Yay! But it's okay. It's fine. You beat the game anyways. And yeah. Um. So what's interesting about these lists is that it's all subjective. Very, very, very subjective for each person and each individual that plays games. And what like that they all have their own different lines as well. Like for instance, like for me, my threshold will go into the specific example. So Shadow Colossus. I'm sure for you it's more like how far did you get into Shadow Colossus?
It's hard to say because I looked up the sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I looked up where the.
You need. So, would it be fair to say that your threshold, like, was more like right here, where you have this large gap, or like more like?
Probably more.
Okay, so like something right there to where it wasn't as evenly distributed out, but you feel like it was hard.
It required a lot of.
Hmm. Okay. I think it was me for that right there. But does that mean I'm better at games and you're not as good at games? I don't think so. Whoever's good at Shadow of the Colossus is good at Shadow of the Colossus. People like to think, this is just my opinion, again, just my opinion on it. But just like any other metric of like knowledge, if you're good at one game, you're probably only good at that one game. There are kind of like examples of niche skills such as reaction times that will help you in certain games. But because each game has different literally different reactions to what like different reaction times, what you do when you press the button, how quick the emotion is, what the motion exactly is, it doesn't help that much. Like for instance, we'll go with Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight has a reaction command of dashing, to where you can go immediately this way and to dodge an attack that's coming down at you. Very useful. And Hades has a reaction command of a dodge, to where you can go in any direction. This dodge command will not help you as much with this dodge command, because this one has a very specific time, has a very specific invincibility frame, a very specific direction to it. You can only go that way and that way. Well, and you can do it in the air. This one, you can only do it in several. You can do it in several directions. That has different times. That has different reactions. To where it barely helps you. So why do I bother explain that? Well, when you're making a game, you have two choices you can go down. And we'll keep this up because this is pitiful. You have two choices when you're making a game of where you want this to be. Like how wide you want it to be and how narrow you want it to be. No, more like one word. Uh, accessibility. I don't know how to tell it. I'm sure that's how that's sure that's one word. Nonetheless, accessibility. How accessible do you want your game to be? Do you want everyone to experience this? Or do you want a niche crowd to experience this? Like for instance, Dark Souls, they know what the kind of crowd they want to get. They want a crowd that has a very no, what is it? it would be. Oh wait. Oh, I forgot how I set this up. So the middle is yes, it's the middle right here, to where it's so freaking hard. It has so much threshold of it being hard to where anybody who's not experienced with this kind of game would easily say, "Fuck this! This is way too hard." So there obviously, and then there's the opposite, to where um, Mario games. Some people do consider Mario games easy or easier than most games, but they have kind of the opposite, to where it's still a little difficult, but it's hard to fail completely. Like for instance, you lose, you'll come back to the level. You get a game over, you'll just come back to the level at the beginning. They also have this thing on Super Mario, New Super Mario World too, where they give you like this block where it's like invincibility. You can fly and you're invincible, and just so you can get through the game. And that's all they cared about, just people being able to get through the game. And so that poses a interesting philosophical question with games. Remember how I said that every other art medium, excuse me, let me get a drink of water. Remember how I said that every other kind of art medium, anybody, it's accessible to anybody. Anybody can play it. Anybody can use things as long as they literally have the physical ability to do it. You can still get through it. You won't be able to experience everything, but you'll experience the main bulk of it. You can watch any movie, read any book, read any comic, blah, blah, blah. Should we do that for games? Is Are games just so special that we block people from experiencing this art? You want your art to be experienced by everybody. Is it fair that some people don't get to experience it just by the idea that they don't want to they can't put in the time into it? Should the should uh, uh should we make people get get good, as the saying goes? Like Dark Souls is obviously the debated topic to where the creator wanted to make an easy mode, and people went crazy. The fans went crazy because, as far as I understand, that makes it so that you say it's like normal mode with the, and if you make an easy mode, it makes it so that people's success in the regular mode are feel a lot less because people can still beat the game in easy mode. Do we make it to where we just cater to that crowd, cater to these people, and keep their experiencing strict? Or do we put extra time to make it easy mode as well to make it more people can experience it, but makes people feel less good about beating it? You can obviously put in a harder mode to satiate these people, but that's not what. But that's not the that's not the problem. Like then you start just making three classes of people. They're just like, well, aha, I beat it in a hard mode, but man, I don't feel as good because people beat it in easy mode and normal mode. It's a very interesting topic. I'm trying not to be biased with it. I have my thoughts on what you should do, but this is what you should think. This is what you need to think about when it comes to these games. For like for instance, for our upcoming game. We couldn't quite do this with the RPG Maker game because we wanted there's a beginner game is we were doing a prologue, which makes it so design wise it's really hard to lose anyways, or else it would be a good design prologue. But for this kind of game, we had to think about where we want to draw this line. Um, I suggest that we focus on accessibility because we want to draw because we're going to be people that are going to be testing these games like for your portfolio for people who want to join this club. Um, Other people are going to play these games, and so some people might not be experienced in the kind of game you make. Um, some people might not even just play games at all, and they just look through resumes. That would be weird, but in companies that happens all the freaking time. It's like you have people that do art for games that never probably played a game in their life. Like that happens, but they're just really good at doing art. So we, I suggest we go with respectability. However, if you really want to start being focused on leaning one side or the other, then we want to demonstrate it pretty early on that this is the kind of game, this is what we're doing. Like Dark Souls, very easy to do. Any Dark Souls or Bloodborne, that kind of game, first encounter you have, bam, you die immediately. You just get slammed, and it tells you early on what kind of game, how hard this is gonna be, and it weeds people out. And they did that on purpose. And so if we want to do it, if we want to focus on it, we have to do it on purpose. We have to make sure we heavily focus on one side or the other. But um, this is definitely more towards uh, more a designer question. It's also like for our game, the finding game. It could be where you're finding crap. That could also be a art question as well. Um, I wow, I got through it all. I didn't think I was gonna get through everything. Although now I'm gonna look back at the VOD and see that one thing I missed. And I God dang it! Or maybe I got it. Who knows? Anybody has any questions with this? Uh, if not, then I guess that's it with that. Anybody have any questions uh, anything else going forward, like club in general, or the club fair, or whatever?
If we do show up at the temple, is there anything we need to
Probably the same gist of what, like, people are just gonna ask, hey, what's this club about? And so we're gonna ask, hey, have you made games already? We'll have a setup of it. Or, hey, um, I learned this thing. Like, I want to learn this thing. What are the resources and whatnot? And I will do my best to have like a layout for people that want to come, like other people besides me that want to come. But I'll be there, and so I'll be able to coach, or if you have nothing, I can respond. Uh, but yeah, we'll have. As far as I know, we have a table set up. Oh, that's what I forgot to mention. Um, when it comes to the swag that they wanted us to be, they declined a lot of it.
really?
Yeah, because it's a timing thing. They had Christmas break, and so usually I guess what would happen is during the break, that's when we would give them the stuff that they want, and then they will have more than enough time to print it all out. They don't have any time to print a lot of it out. We um, we were able to get items uh, for next time. Like for instance, I had an idea. My main idea was 3 tiers of like swag you can get. If you show up, you get a flyer. If you just play the game, you get like a button, or like or the opposite, whatever that, a button. But if you beat the game, you get a shirt. And so that's what the idea was, but we're not gonna be able to make the shirts in time. So all we get so far is the business cards, the pamphlets, and we're getting shirts for next time. But they are looking for ideas for something else. I don't know how much time we really have. So if anybody has any ideas of any other kinds of things besides the things that were listed, that would be great because I am short on ideas. And we have the whole $200 to contend with. If if I can't come up with any more ideas, I would just say use it all for the shirts or for the next for buttons to make next time and whatnot. But If by the end of the day you come up with something, just give it to me, and I'll see if I can send it their way. Anything else?
Um,
Cool. Well, that puts an end to it. I will upload this tomorrow, tonight, and end.